Well, then I need to talk a bit about viewpoints and customization, because that's also an area where we change the language. Starting from the bottom here, we have this list of basic viewpoints in the standard, which had a kind of normative notion to it, but that was never the intention when we developed ArchiMate. It was never our idea to have this normative, exhaustive list of viewpoints that you had to adhere to. They were intended as examples of viewpoints. So we've now moved them to an appendix and really put them in as an example. And people who have done an ArchiMate exam know that this is a really tricky kind of question. You get sometimes, which concept does not belong in this viewpoint? Well, learning that by heart is no longer necessary. It's just an informative appendix now. It's no longer mandatory. But instead, we improved the description of the viewpoint mechanism, because that's really what it is about. You want to select parts of your language for a certain target group to express a certain concern of a stakeholder. So that's what really ArchiMate is about. It's not about a specific set of viewpoints, but it's about the ability to create viewpoints and depict in certain ways. So that's changed in the standard as well. The viewpoints are now moved to an appendix. A similar improvement is that we have a better description now of the notion of language customization. It was already in the standard. We have this chapter on profiles and specializations, but we explained that a bit better, and we also added a default notation for this with the stereotype notation that some of you might know from UML, with these guillemets, these angled brackets, to denote the name of the specialization. And there's also a list of all kinds of example specializations that might be useful to you, just as to show how you can use this in practice. And to give one example of that, this is also being used in the risk and security area. And there's a white paper that was published last year on risk and security management using ArchiMate. And this example here shows you how existing concepts in ArchiMate are stereotyped to express things like vulnerabilities and threat events and risks, etc. So it's using specialization as the relationship behind there, and then using this notation to denote these special kinds of assessments, special kinds of events, special kinds of goals. So you now have a little more support for that in the standard. It was in there already, but it's now explained in a better way. And then finally, we expressed the relationship to other standards a little bit better. So, of course, there's TOGAF. The mapping to the TOGAF ADM was in there. That's still there. As you can see in this picture, we now added strategy there, which plays a main role in the preliminary and architecture vision phases of the ADM. But this structure was already in there, but it's now in an appendix about more than just the TOGAF standard. Like I said, they are still both independent. You can use them separately, so no need to be fixed on TOGAF, but it's still very useful to show this correspondence. We also added some words on how ArchiMate relates to UML and BPMN and BMM, the business motivation model. So there is some description on which concepts in ArchiMate correspond to which concepts in these other standards. Because ArchiMate borrowed a lot of concepts from these standards, with this explicit idea that you can then drill down into the details in models using those standards. So if you, for example, have a business process in ArchiMate, you might want to describe that in detail in BPMN. And how this correspondence works is now expressed in more detail in this appendix. So finally, summarizing what we did with ArchiMate, we added the option for modeling business strategy in a better way. We improved the modeling of the physical world, added concepts there to support things like the Internet of Things, manufacturing, healthcare, etc. We improved the usability and the consistency of the standards. We aligned it better with other standards. And in this way, I think we have now a language that offers even greater support in dealing with the challenges of enterprise architects today in digital transformation and business change.